Good morning, everybody. So, we have another podcast here going on for today. My name is Jonathan Myers. We are going to be talking about disqualification and objections. The reason why we're talking about both is because they kind of go hand in hand. Now, in the past, for those of you out there who face a lot of objections, you can totally alleviate most of those objections, if not even all of them, if your discovery process is tight, if it's good, if it's concise, and well, I wouldn't even say concise, if it's very detailed to the point you're asking questions during your discovery process to avoid any of these objections. As an example, you've heard some things before in the past on some of the podcasts. I was mentioning how you should not be facing a budget issue at the end of the conversation. Let's just say you already presented to them and you've already showed them what you want to offer them, and they're like, "Oh man, I can't afford that; it's too expensive." That just goes right there. That's an example. You should not be hitting that point at all as an objection after your presentation or offer. So, what you need to do is have a good discovery process. You might have a few objections at the end of the conversation, but they should not have anything to do with price. They shouldn't have anything to do with need or anything of that sort of thing. It's ultimately, if they're turning away, it's just because frankly they don't want to use your service specifically. That should be the only reason that they're turning away, and that's fine. Not everybody's going to be a good fit. As you know, we've gone over this many times. Like, less than half the people you talk to will actually be a good fit. That does not mean less than half will come on board. You might have people come on board and then the next minute they drop off on, after 1 month with you, or after the contract ends, whatever it is that you guys do, or whatever service you provide. Maybe they have, doubts midway through. That's what not being a good fit actually means. Somebody that's not going to want to retain with you, or whatever your service may be. It's different in every realm. But so, back to the disqualification process. What you need to do is you need to make sure you're asking key questions that actually are all about the client, all about the prospect, I'm sorry. And I know we hammer this in and day out. You hear this everywhere, but it's so crucial because about 83 to 85% of all sales reps don't do this properly. And people, not to say they get complacent, some people, whether they're nervous to ask certain questions, whether they forget, it doesn't really matter. The ultimate thing is have a script. Have a script of select questions you need answered. Make them geared towards your prospect. That way they feel like you're paying attention. They feel like you're actually wanting to discover where it is they need to go. Now, we're not talking about, what's keeping you up at night staring at the ceiling at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody wants to answer that question. Nobody cares about that question. And everybody, it's been overplayed a million times. It might have been cool, back in the day. But, I really don't know. I never asked that question. But what you need, ask them something else in a different matter. It's the same essential question, but something along the lines of, so tell me, Michael, what challenges are you guys facing right now in regards to client acquisition? What's holding you guys back from getting the clients you want to get? Ask them something like that, and ask one question at a time. I was giving you two examples right there. Another good form, instead, what's keeping you up at night? So tell me, Michael, what roadblocks are you hitting right now? The good thing about that one, you can ask that in any sort of way, any time, just about. Even if somebody says, "Oh, things are going good," we're doing great. We have clients are coming in each month. We're hitting our goals. Blah blah blah. The good thing about that roadblock question is like, "Oh, that's awesome, man. Good. So, tell me, what roadblocks are you finding that your company is hitting consistently?" Leave it at that and let them answer that question. A lot of times not a lot of times, but there's sometimes they'll say, actually, to be honest, we're doing great. We don't have any roadblocks. And, you can clarify that getting even deeper. Okay, so, walk me through this. I just want to make sure we have the process correct, because it seems like, I just want to make sure we're on this call for a reason. So Your client acquisition is good, correct? They'll answer the question. Okay, so you're getting the clients that you want to get. Tell me about the quality of them. Are you getting the quality you want to get? And I'm only using clients as an example. We do a lead generation and appointment setting features, so I'm talking from my realm. Okay, so what kind of quality of appointments are you getting? Are you getting good quality? Like, yeah. We're getting great quality. Okay, cool. Now, tell me about the consistency here. Are you consistently getting anywhere from you're telling me you want to hit about 15 appointments a month? Are you consistently getting anywhere from 4 to 5 appointments a week? Well, yeah, we're kind of getting some weeks we don't get anything, and other weeks we'll get like 6 or 7. Um, it's like it's very hit or miss on that. Oh, okay, so we're discovering a consistency issue over here. All right, and so that's going to allow you to actually dig into questions and find out if there actually is a need. This person a little while ago was doing great. You found that everything was going good. They're making money. The thing is, if companies are making money, they don't see an issue yet. But once you find out and you dig into it, figure out where there's a broken link, they'll then see, okay, yeah, we actually do have an issue here. Yeah, sure, we're hitting our monthly quotas. But if we get this small little issue fixed and we're getting 4 to 5 consistent appointments a week of good quality, that would dramatically boost our numbers and revenue. Okay, you know what? Well, now we're talking. Now their goal has gone from making, let's just say it's a small business making about 50K a month. Say it's a 1 to 2 man business show. Now they've gone from making like 50K a month to 75 to 100K in a month. Not overnight, don't get me wrong, but like over a simple issue that can be resolved. So yes, they were happy making 50K a month. They were hitting their quotas, but you just found them a way to generate a simple fix, or to do a simple fix that would generate them another 25 to 50K in the entire month. Okay, so that right there is how you actually discover if there's a need. And at that point, you have another driving factor for that. Sure, they might not have their goal at that point, but maybe they just didn't realize how much they could generate. Now, another thing can be as well when you're talking about decision makers as an example. And this is a big one that people use all the time, and they typically find this process out at the end of the offer. I've done it before. I'm sure many of you have done it before. I'll finish the presentation, be like, okay, cool. Well, I have to check back with my team and do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. And at this point, that's fine, especially when you're talking to enterprise companies. That's totally cool. But now you're kind of left wondering, okay, am I going to have to present this again? Okay, how long do I have to wait in order for me to be able to get responses from these people? How many people are even involved? So all this you should have figured out in the discovery call. And by that, that's actually one of your last questions you'll ask. You'll go through the whole process and you'll talk to them like, so Michael, tell me, for a decision like this, how does that typically work on making this sort of decision within your company? And they might ask you to clarify. I get that question a lot. It's a very confusing question sometimes to ask, but once you get to that point, it's easier to ask once you get there. Like, so how's your decision making process go for a decision like this? Simple as that. And they'll walk you through it. They're like, oh, I make the choices here. It's good. I'll decide if it's a good factor or a good addition to our company, and we move forward. Or they'll tell you like, hey, yeah, I have a few team members I need to walk this by, make sure that they approve, and actually I need to talk to the CFO or CEO. He's the owner of all this, obviously. So if he doesn't approve, obviously we don't get the money. So got to make sure we talk to him as well. So when you do that, and you figure out who it needs to go through, you need to be like, okay, so does it make sense to move forward with the presentation, or should we go ahead and would it make more sense to make sure that they're on the call with us, and schedule a later time where they can actually see the presentation? And they'll tell you that, yeah, it makes more sense for them to get involved, to prevent all that going back and forth and whatnot. And then you work with that. You schedule it, make sure the important people are involved. Not to say the person you're talking to is not important, but he's not the ultimate decision maker, which happens pretty often when you're dealing with bigger companies, because what'll happen is, the CEO, the owner, the founder, whoever you want to call them, they're usually very busy doing their own thing, and they'll designate people to take meetings like this. So you have to make sure you cover this stuff ahead of time, and cover it with the person, their right-hand man as an example. Now, if their right-hand man approves of it, you win their favor, boom, you're in. Make sure you get to that presentation, get that in front of the important person that needs to make the ultimate choice, and you're good to go. Now, as for budget, things like that, you're talking to them. And this is another tactic that's used that it works very, very well. And one of my mentors actually uses it, and that's actually where I learned it from. And it's a question in the very, it can be at the end of the conversation of your discovery as well, where you're talking about, okay, so typically, Michael, a project like this will cost about anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 per month. Do you find that your company sits anywhere within that budget range? And they'll let you know. A lot of times, for our service specifically, because it's a lead generation, they'll be like, yeah, we're more on the low end of that. We want to try it out, make sure it works first, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, cool. That's fine. No big deal. Just, wanted to make sure you're comfortable within that range. Now, a tactic that, is also used, let's say you don't do something that has a monthly revenue deal for reoccurring revenue. Let's say it's a, one-time kind of charge, and it's a project-based thing, like whether you're doing website development, some sort of business development feature, whatever it is, and training systems, and you go and you're talking to them, you're telling them, okay, so the price, typically a project like this ranges anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. Do you find yourself within that budget range at all? And they'll be, yeah, we're somewhere in there. Okay, where specifically are you? Like, yeah, more towards the, probably about $30,000 or so. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. So, I'll tell you what we'll go ahead and do, Michael. We'll go ahead and take this back to the office. I'm going to put a few things together for you, and we're going to come up with a offer for you to look at, and we can work on together and whatnot. If we were to come back with something that's just a little bit more than $30,000, like, do you think that's something your company could work with? Yeah, I think we'd probably be able to find something. Now, at this point, you did two things. So you got more money out of them. You got an official, like, hey, we can probably afford a little bit more. So you got more money out of it for nothing. And two, the other thing it does is you've already clarified, hey, we're going to go back. I'm not going to try to sell you right now. I'm going to go back and make something specific according to what we've talked about today, making them feel more inclined, making them feel more involved, which there's been research that shows when the buyers are more involved they feel more involved in the entire sale process, which makes them more apt to buy because it feels more custom tailored, more tailored to them, if that makes sense. So it's a great way to go about that, and also a great way to avoid the entire budget issue in itself at the end of the presentation when you shouldn't be having that issue then. So make sure your budget calls, your discovery calls are covering all this. Every question you need to ask, are they the right kind of company that you're wanting to deal with? Are they the ones that have the right employee size? What kind of monthly sales are they getting? Which is also another way you can find out if they're going to be probably able to afford it or not. Now, it's not always a guarantee because there are some people who aren't making any monthly sales right now, but they have reserves set aside to pull them out of ruts. So you can always make a semi-estimate off of that, but don't always bank on it. And then you can just, questions that pertain to your specific kind of business, whether you're e-com, whether you're, like I said, sales and training systems of some sort, or some sort of business development, marketing, doesn't matter. Custom tailor your questions that you need to know. As an example, you're not going to go, if you're a marketing company that does SEO services and you're going to somebody that only does Facebook ads, they have no absolute interest in SEO, like zero, it's going to be very hard for you to go and pitch them SEO services. Now, if you're able to persuade them and stuff like that, yeah, sure. That's actually probably a terrible example, though. So, let's make them completely different realms. You're talking to somebody who isn't even looking for marketing, and you're an SEO digital marketing service provider. So this person is just shopping around for e-com stuff, was running around online and signing up for everything, happened to run across your funnel, and in all reality, they're just a shopaholic, with that, no business, nothing like that. You want to make sure you're covering all this first, so you're not presenting to somebody who has absolutely no need for what it is you have to offer. The bigger and the longer your discovery calls are, as long as your questions are pertinent, the more time you'll save, the more objections you'll avoid. And objections aren't necessarily bad. Keep that in mind. People veer away from objections like they are just a terrible, scary thing. All they merely are, an objection is not a rejection. An objection is just a concern. Okay, I have a question about this. Or, hey, well, you know, I don't think I can afford that. Okay, so what's the concern here? What's the issue? Is it really the value or is it really the price? Or other questions like, we don't like LinkedIn. Okay, don't stop there. Just because somebody doesn't like LinkedIn, if that's a platform used to market on, it doesn't mean they're opposed to it. Now, if they say, no, I'm not going to use LinkedIn, that's a rejection. But I don't like LinkedIn. Okay, walk me through that. Why don't you like LinkedIn? What happened? It seems like you might have gone through some sort of bad experience. So walk me through this. Talk to them. All right, figure things out. Play detective. Play doctor. Find out what's up. Remedy the situation. That's pretty much it for right now. It's been about a 16-minute podcast, so we are going to cut it short from this point. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, the Jonathan Myers, TheJonathanMeyers, and you can also find me on Facebook with the same username, I guess you call it, facebook.com/// whatever the slash, the Jonathan Myers. Yeah, so find me there, shoot out to me, shoot me some DMs. Otherwise, everybody have a great day.